I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is for Lisa. Would you do roll call, please?
Yes. Ted Carlson.
Here.
Terrence Kelly. David Nesmith.
Here.
Nesmith.
I got it.
Nesmith.
It's been worse before.
Keith Silver.
Here.
Steve Strom.
Here.
DNS Deputy Municipal Attorney is here. And we have a quorum.
People had a chance to review the agenda, and unless somebody wants to do a change, do a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
So moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Any opposed?
We don't have the minutes.
And that's where I get in trouble.
Yeah, so should we defer
Well,
approval
okay.
of the minutes until next meeting? Can we do that?
Please.
Yeah, okay. Move it.
Well, understand that staff has been busy. We've been keeping her busy with
Yeah.
other things.
Correct.
That's right.
Yeah. So maybe, I don't know, do we defer number 4 or, I don't know, however we do it.
Will you accept that friendly amendment?
We can't
Yes.
approve
Yes.
the minutes
Yes.
because they're not here.
Well, we'll just,
Defer it?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the agenda's been approved and the minutes are deferred till next time when we can do 4.
4.
Hopefully only
Right.
4.
And not 8.
Do we have any appearance requests?
No.
No, seeing any, no special orders of business or executive session yet. New business, we have disclosure forms. I've reviewed disclosure forms, and I appreciate that you've already got these letters already printed out. And it looks like you printed, like an example, you didn't print the first one, Hornbuckle, because it was given by, it was a winner of something, a Facebook nomination.
And it doesn't say anywhere, it's from a community member, not a parent of a student.
Yeah,
As well as from a church. So I appreciate that one. I found that as I'm going through these and looking at these things, that kind of remind me, are we doing,
I would like to make a recommendation.
yes,
That we send letters out on each one of these that are over $50. And in that letter, state that effective such and such a date, it will be illegal to accept any gift over $50.
that would be this site.
Can I say though, but I don't think, Ted, that's entirely true under the new code, because there are certain exceptions.
But
Maybe just enclose the new code or something
well,
When does it come into effect?
July
July.
for the
Wait.
teachers.
So after
It-
this school year.
it
Well,
basically.
it was because they already done their training for.
Well, I'd have to read it, but it basically, from an individual parent, you can't accept anything over $50, in excess of $50.
Doesn't it also, as I recall, it also made the individual ethics officers of each individual area more responsible themselves,
Yeah,
as opposed to having to come to us for every one of these.
and then this one here, this $450 one, would have went to the principal, and it wouldn't have even come to us.
I like Dee's idea of enclosing the code change, the
Well-
ordinance itself.
Was it actually approved?
Yes,
Yes.
it was
It's gone
approved.
through?
Yeah, that
But it's not
was a
effective
couple
till
weeks ago.
summer?
It's not effective till July or something like that.
I think that I like that idea because we can essentially say that the code speaks for itself.
Yeah.
They can read it. They can figure it out. I
Okay.
just don't want to be get into the trap of trying to interpret
Yeah,
the new code.
that's fine, but so
Um,
that they start to get this.
I don't know how to, but we'd want to maybe just. Are we thinking just simply attach the new code, or I would think
Well,
we'd want to give it in some context.
How about just something like enclosed police
Yes.
find, new teachers, should we, well, it says teachers,
New-
I'll figure that.
or
New
new
gift
bid.
code effective for ASD teachers and staff, July 2014.
Right. Perfect. That's,
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
I'm going through and looking at this here, and I couldn't help but, there's one from a teacher who doesn't even spell gift right.
Oh, no.
Laura, Nevada, Oh, and the description of the gift, Sweet 100 gift card, GIF.
That's because she was really
Graphical
nervous.
interface, that's a gift, you know those little gift things, you know, when you put your
That's
mouse
it.
over it, they all move around, that's a gift.
Well, that's actually that's a file, a computer file, right?
Yes,
A picture
yes,
file.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, what? I'm sorry. What's this?
It says Sweet 100 GIF card.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, I see what you're saying.
It's like a
How-
JPEG or a,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but the Power Beats by Dr. Dre. Now that's an gift. You know what Power Beats are?
No.
I read an article about this in my like Newsweek or something. But it's the newest and greatest headset, like the earphones.
Oh, I've seen the advertisements.
They're real colorful.
Really colorful, and of course the rappers use diamond studded beats thing, and they're the hottest thing going. LeBron James wears them.
So real quick, back to the first one, and I don't want to belabor this, but it does say that you have to report it not only if it's from student parents, group of parents, but also community organizations. So her reporting it, I think, was correct. But we're saying that there's no issue with it.
We're
because
saying
it-
there's no issue because it's given by a group as opposed to an individual.
Yeah, but
And it was something as a winner, it's something.
Yeah. So I don't. So are we going to send anything to her at all?
No.
Okay.
No.
No.
But the reason that we're not is because, not because it came from a group, but because it wasn't it wasn't really, it wasn't personal. It was chance, if you will, or whatever.
I think it's a combination of that. I
Yeah.
mean, Lisa's already, if you look at our agenda, the agenda shows who she's intending, who she's recommending the letters to go to.
Yeah. But I guess what I'm saying though is that, you know, she checks number 2, or block number 2, which does include reporting gifts in value in excess of $500 or $50 from community organizations.
And that is, of course, ASD's form,
Okay.
which may need
But
to be
it
modified, yes.
does show a code
Yeah.
on that. So anyway, I don't have any problem with it, but
Where does it show who's getting letters?
On the
the
agenda,
agenda.
there's a whole list.
This A
Yes.
Foster, so that's the group, okay.
all right,
Mark Beetle.
so I'm not going to belabor it.
Mark, you got 4 bottles of Glenlivet Scotch.
By the Japanese delegation.
That's-
They're like, why didn't
that's
they
hilarious.
give him sake instead of Glenlivet Scotch?
Which would you rather have?
Well, neither one. Actually, I don't drink either one, but
That's so funny.
But that happens with them all the time. The Japanese consul, when you ever have a meeting with dignitaries coming from Japan, everybody there that's working gets a present. Whatever it may be, sometimes it's chopsticks, that, you know.
well, what's good is I agree with how he's intending to handle the
Yeah,
conflict.
and that's
you know.
what-
The officer
that's what
was
the
good to
police
turn it to him,
department
and,
does.
yeah.
Turn
That's
it
right.
in and.
No, it's perfect.
yeah.
What auction is he putting them
Yeah.
He hasn't decided.
I'm gonna go to that one.
Yeah.
So,
And I had one come up just as an ethics officer where someone from the port got a similar gift. I don't know, fancy china or something from a Korean group,
right.
and he didn't want to give it back because he knew it would cause problems. So he said, "D, you take it," and I said, "Oh no."
Can we put them on display in the building
So
here?
no, but I wonder if I wonder if that might be an interesting thing for us to deal with. If there is a quote auction that we tell people, yeah, hey, just turn it over, or I don't know, maybe I have the port call Mark Mew and say, where's your auction? No, but I'm seriously, you know,
Yeah.
that because they don't want to insult the group.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. I think it's important to accept the gift, but then in this particular case, because you don't want to insult foreign dignitaries when they're giving you something, but at the same time, I thought the mayor's office has always been handling it by they display it in the building.
Sometimes if it's, I mean, you're not going to display 4
You
bottles of
wouldn't
scotch.
display 4 bottles of shit.
Can-
Scotch in
You
your-
put them in a plastic case and.
Can you set internal policy that would say that those be turned in as to a specific office, and that office gets them into auction?
Yes, let's try to figure something out.
Yeah, I mean,
what would be the
to
easiest
me,
way
that
of
would be
doing
the
that?
easiest
Yeah.
way is direct people to a single point of contact or office, and then that office would be responsible for getting it into whatever auction or whatever.
Right. Okay, so
Yeah,
let's try to
perfect.
figure that
Some sort of
out.
silent auction that people
Yeah.
can, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Why is it, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, stick off the top of my head
Why is it going to Stanton? It looks like it's from BP.
for that.
$300 donation for classroom purchase
Supplies.
of iPad.
Yeah, maybe I haven't gotten to that one
Gift
yet.
was received from, I'm just going down the list here, Stanton was on the list. It is from Martha Landau, but it's also from BP.
I was-
Oh, I see, it's because it's the parents of a student.
You know what that is?
No, I don't.
Who gets this all the time? Football Booster Club. A BP, someone who works for BP can ask for a donation.
Yeah,
He
that's what I'm
was
saying,
mentioned.
yeah.
And it
There was a
could
commercial
be-
on that during the Olympics, actually.
Okay,
So it does come from one
Martha.
Yeah.
person.
I see,
Yeah.
okay.
Through
But-
one
But
person.
BP basically gives their employees a certain amount of money. They can donate it to whatever they want.
I see,
And so,
okay.
and that's what.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And so that's why we have a lot of these other ones say BP as well. And I think that's I think that's the same thing. And they get a certain amount of money and they can break it up and give it to however many organizations they want. So,
Yeah, we definitely want to encourage that.
right.
Yeah, I don't think we want to discourage, yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think we want to discourage it.
Right.
No, I don't want to.
So take out Stanton.
Oh, well, I don't know. How
Did
do
you have Stanton in there?
Yeah,
Yes.
Stanton.
Maybe we could, I think if we could find out if it was, because we have these other ones that are from BP, right? They don't put
You
a
know, got a
name.
bunch of them.
They didn't put a name.
And my
on
guess
it.
is,
It's probably the same thing,
It's
isn't
a
it?
parent that works for
Mhm.
BP, so, but they just didn't, so I think it's probably the same, and I don't have an issue with it. If it wasn't,
But
if it was corporate money,
Yeah.
it's the same thing as this first one where we say it came from a community organization, kind of.
I now, but once that new regulation the new ordinance takes effect, then that would be illegal.
I'm gonna have to go back and review.
Yeah, I have to, yeah.
Because,
I have to review what we said on it, because I don't recall that being that's the case, but I may be wrong.
because it's coming from an individual, doesn't, if
Right.
if
So
he's
it's
my teacher,
identified from by
my
the
kid's-
individual.
My kid's teacher, and I go to my boss and say, give me, $100, I'm gonna give it, and I give it to him, it's still coming from me to that teacher.
Unless the check is from BP.
Oh, if-
Unless the check is from BP.
But it's still.
So it
going
would be
to-
better in this
it's
case
still
that it goes to
going
the principal
to-
who then gives it
Yeah,
so
that's
that.
what they really need to do, is they just need to run everything through the principal's
Yeah.
office.
But the
And say, I
principals
want-
were not interested in doing that according to the school
Well,
district.
then they can see a reduction in support from the principal.
If we start that and allowing that, that's gonna open a whole new bucket of worms for us.
But I don't want to discourage BP from giving the money or any other
Yeah.
company.
Well, I don't think you will.
Well, if they can't give it to the teacher.
Well, they can give it to, they can't give more than $50. They're gonna have to decide, okay, we're gonna give this teacher $50, this teacher $50, or whatever.
Or they give it to the principal and the
Give
principal
it to
can then give it to
or
that particular
to the
teacher.
PTA and they disperse it.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so any other recommendations on the gift
Boy,
disclosures?
what are we doing with Stanton?
I recommend we pull
Full Stanton?
them off.
Yes.
How do you feel about that, Ted?
Which one is that?
That's the one where they purchase of an iPad mini for classroom use.
Can someone call him and ask if he knows whether or not this was money that was donated through the BP employee program?
Well, that's,
Yeah, I'm assuming
Well,
it is.
that's what it
Yeah, 'cause
specifically lists it
yeah,
on
It
here.
says here,
Does it say
BP
BP?
donation program for classrooms. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
on his deal there.
To me, that's the same as these other ones that just say BP. So,
Yeah, fine.
I mean, the one.
It's the next to the last, it's the next to last one,
3, 4,
right before these
the
disclosures.
four before that one are the same thing. So, either send all 5 of them a letter, or we
Yeah.
don't send any of them a letter. That's my
Yeah.
recommendation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm starting to sound like the guy from Rain Man. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Get us off. Who's the guy that played? Anyway.
Dustin Hoffman.
Dustin
Dustin
Hoffman.
Hoffman,
Yeah.
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 Okay, so there's literally
Yeah, I
Three
guess
from
I agree
BP.
with that.
I think there's
So,
five.
but BP, this BP one says donors a community member I do not know.
Yeah.
Right.
So
See, that's what you
seems like we
want.
would like, okay. BP, this BP says relationship to donor or recipient none.
Yeah.
So
And the next one is blank. And the next one says community member.
community member, so that's not a
And
classroom
the next one
parent.
says parent.
And then
So-
this one says parent.
Yeah. But my guess is the one that's blank was probably a parent.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that says none might have been a parent as well. So I guess my point is it's not their personal money. I guess it doesn't really matter whose money it is.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
But it's still going in the mind and everything else. It doesn't matter that the money came from BP. It went to that person's.
Yeah, and that person directed the money.
Right.
I know it's not theirs, but it comes from a specific
Right.
person.
And
But
that's what we're trying to.
But had it
avoid.
gone to the principal, and the principal says, you receive this money from a classroom,
Right.
from a parent or classroom member, but I can't tell you who that parent is or the classroom.
Yeah.
I don't have any
Right.
problem with that.
No, that's true.
Right.
So there's ways to manage this so that we don't end up with the potential of a quid pro quo of a child having, some influence with a teacher spends more time with that particular child. I don't know that $300 make it happen.
Because I'll have to look at the final ordinance that they passed, but in there it says there's no way of accepting a gift.
Hi.
Hey,
I did not know you guys were meeting today.
Oh,
You're
you know,
welcome.
you can't just any
You know,
given
it's just-
day,
it's-
you'll find us here.
It's public notice.
I know.
Yesterday afternoon.
Well, the only reason I was going to call you specifically is because we scheduled my ethics code change for March 11th to bring it back. So I just didn't know when the board might be able to bring it up.
I was
it's on the
just,
agenda today.
I was just telling this.
Oh, look at that!
Yes, okay, but just be aware, we do have a pressing notice of potential violation that probably will take up most of our time.
I'm in no hurry. I'm only going to stay about 15 minutes and I'm going to leave, so I might not even be here. But
You want to-
oh, no.
If you had comment, we could change the order just for her to have comment.
I don't want to mess with your system. I think it's pretty straightforward. So.
But thank you for your I heard about your comments last night about we are stepping a little bit out of the stem, but since you're here, but your comments regarding our advisory opinion yesterday. And I didn't watch it, and I can go back, I suppose, and watch it anytime at my leisure. Yeah.
I don't know that my comments were that articulate. I had one of those nights where my mind and my brain and my mouth were not connecting, but no, I think you guys should be able to wait and I'll stop.
So we've spent enough time on this. I think we ought to.
Well, do you want to make a
yeah.
motion?
I just wanted to comment that if I remember right to what that new, and we need to get a copy of that final ordinance that they
Is that by
passed.
chance in our new ordinance books, by the way?
in
Thank you
there.
very much.
No.
Okay.
The only way that they can accept anything more than $50, there's no such thing as putting in a disclaimer. They have to go through the principal's office.
Or the PTA.
Yeah, or the PTA.
Yeah, but right now we're not operating.
No, we're
that
not.
way,
Right,
so
I
we just
realize
need
that,
to-
I
yeah.
realize that, so,
So,
but if we just ship them a letter.
You know what?
Let her go. I make a motion, we just accept these and go.
I mean, the code says that you have to report it even if it's from a community organization, which
Right.
to me would be somebody you don't know.
Mhm.
So just the fact that the relationship is somebody you don't know doesn't make it okay. So it's either they all get it or they all don't on the BP thing. That's my opinion. So, no?
It's a second.
Well, I mean.
Well, I agree that
All or
it
none.
doesn't matter where the money comes from.
Yeah,
It's
on
the
the-
person giving the money.
Yeah, specifically on the 5 BP ones. I know they're all a little bit different.
Even the one that said, I do not know.
Well, but I don't think the code says that that's okay necessarily. It just says that if you get a gift in excess of $50 from a student, a parent, a guardian of a student, groups of parents, or a community organization, it doesn't say a community. It doesn't say a community organization, that you know or don't know. and it doesn't quantify the parent.
Okay, if it wouldn't be for
Current
that
parent,
parent,
past parent.
if it wouldn't be for that parent, that teacher would not have gotten that one from BP.
Well, but there's some that got it that they don't know the people that gave it to them. So
Well, it's weird because the ones that you can get through a parent, because we used to get them with football,
Yeah.
they're usually like 200, 300. There's this set amount. These
Yeah.
little $75 ones,
They broke
it
those
could be a
up.
different, well, it could be a different program where
Yeah.
maybe the teacher themselves, maybe they ask for those.
They applied.
Yeah, apply for
Yeah,
those.
right. yeah, I don't know. I'm not really stuck on it. So whatever you want to do.
Okay, so you made a motion?
I make a motion.
Let me just have one more question. Do you think that if we start sending these letters, that BP is no longer going to do this program?
No, I don't think that's gonna happen.
This isn't
But
going
the-
to
the
chill.
only
This
thing
isn't going to
is-
chill the donation, is it?
The only thing is, it will go, the BP will probably start sending them to the principal.
I don't know about that.
No, because it's an employee benefit program.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to
Yeah.
ask.
Or the people will know that, hey, I got $100 here from BP for the school. That person, that individual is gonna know it's gotta go either to the PTA or to the principal. It can't go to an
But how are they
individual
going to know unless BP tells them? Because seriously.
Well, excuse me,
just-
Keith,
go
are
ahead.
we're going to send out a copy of the new code, and it
Yeah,
says
yeah,
there
yeah.
$50, or it has to go through the. So, I mean, I think you guys currently that these gifts are in violation of the current code, and even the future code. But this is for educational purposes. So send out the letter, but attach the code with the enclosed
Okay.
police fine.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's
So-
educational.
Yeah.
So he's made a
Why didn't
motion.
you say that
made a
earlier?
second. You made a
I just
second.
thought I'd let you-
Accept this closed
No, I got hung up because you don't want to.
Yeah.
It seems like such a.
So we're going to
typical-
send it to all five then, the BP ones.
Except for the one that Lisa doesn't agree with.
That's fine.
Okay, now we're going to move on.
Well, that's fine.
Which one did you not
The one
agree
that
with?
says they don't.
I do not know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That whatever.
All right.
I mean, it seems like they
So
they
moved.
understood
Oh,
that they.
you're seconding his motion?
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay. Move on.
And
Yes.
can I make a suggestion? Amy, I don't know if you're interested in speaking to your code rewrite, whether you bring any perspective to that or not. I think that would be helpful.
I would like to,
One,
yeah.
because we need to look at it, but also relates to some of our other business that we need to deal with. And so
So-
it could be very helpful.
So I would say, I would make a motion to move. I have no idea what number that is.
That would be AO 2014-2,
Who says on the agenda?
D, 8D.
8D.
Wow.
What is this? Yeah.
8D.
No, see, that's,
Well, why don't we?
oh, here it is. Yeah.
Since our assembly member is here, why don't we listen to her?
Sure.
8D now? Who wants to second
Okay.
that?
So 8D now.
Well, I don't have a copy of it.
Ted did.
Okay, Ted seconded it. Do we have any opposed? Hearing none?
Okay. You're up.
Well, since I didn't know you had a meeting and I wasn't prepared, I'll just simply say this. I'm not looking to change the rules and procedures, like the policies and procedures that are in place. All I'm looking to do is clearly define the fact that if you're a candidate running for office and you're traveling on city-paid trip, that you need to clearly disclose activities that are listed there, and you need to reimburse the city. That's simple. And if you don't, it's an ethics violation.
Or we would call it potential violation.
Potential. Okay.
And reimburse the city for.
You want to ask your question
I wish I
specifically
would
of
have
her?
had my
Okay.
Because he had a good thing to come up with
Okay.
Okay.
You know, 8D is right here, right?
What is the difference
under 8.
Under 8D.
I'm starting to learn how to use this now.
if the Chamber of Commerce in Eagle River wants the mayor to come out and speak out there? Okay. They have a fundraiser for him at Jalapenos later on that afternoon. Does he have to come back to his office and then go back out there
In his personal vehicle.
in his personal vehicle, or just stay right there because he's out there on business, city business? So there's no reason for him to come back here, get in his personal vehicle and drive out there, so there wouldn't be a complaint.
Sure. I see what you're saying. I didn't contemplate that. I was thinking of the airfare personally and the hotel and everything. But technically, I guess you could be right. I mean, I don't really know. I mean, both of us are familiar with the Eagle River Chamber of Commerce, and if
Right.
they have him come out and speak, they're gonna have him come out and speak at lunch.
Yeah.
And then if he's gonna have a fundraiser, it's gonna be at 5 o'clock at night.
Okay, but he still could, you know, do
Well, then
Parks
I-
and Rec, and he could do the other out there.
Yeah,
You know,
and if, I guess if he's driving his city vehicle, he should probably reimburse the city for mileage.
But he was there anyway.
Well, he's there anyways, if he flies to Washington DC or Tacoma or Hawaii or,
I really don't see a problem if you're there anyway, you have to go there.
He could
So
go around.
why come back, buy another plane ticket or whatever?
well, and I don't think that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying
Well, I think I
is,
know
we
what
have,
it is.
I wish I had it with me, and I don't have the policies and procedures manual with me that talks about, you know what I'm talking about?
The PMP.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
that's
what-
in here
We have
somewhere.
two
Do
of
you know
them.
where it is?
Yes,
So
it's
my
under.
point is, the city already
8A.
has policies and procedure guidelines for reimbursement already in place. I'm not advocating changing those. All I'm saying is if you're a candidate, you need, and you're on city business, those rules should apply. And not only should they apply, it needs to clearly be delineated in the ethics code that this is what we expect, and we expect exposure, and we expect repayment to the fair. That's it.
So,
Did you reference the,
Okay,
How much-
so you
everybody,
How much is
they're
the
in,
repayment?
they're in the back
It's
part of
pro rata.
8A.
So,
I
it's
included
pro rata.
those for you.
So what that means is if I have, say I fly to Hawaii for a conference of mayors or a assembly conference, let's say assembly conference, but I'm running for mayor. If I'm gone for 40 hours, but out of that 40 hours, I hold 2 fundraisers while I'm there, and it's a total of 5 hours, that 5 hours would be prorated for the cost of the trip. That's how it breaks down in here essentially. So that means I would take, whether it's my airfare, my hotel, whatever the city paid for that trip, I would just say, okay, 5 hours of that, you know,
can you use the same process to determine whether or not any excess mileage was incurred
I think so.
going out to Eagle River?
I would
And
expect.
then- And then staying for the fundraiser?
Yeah, I would expect.
So, Amy, you wouldn't make any distinction for the fact that it's a trip, a yearly trip or something, and the fundraising is done on personal time at 7 o'clock at night. You still think it should prorate back?
I do. And the reason I say that is because you get into these gray areas where I've heard a lot of people in our community make the comment, well, was the trip, did they schedule the trip so they could have the fundraiser or whatnot? And I think in the taxpayer's mind, it's about transparency and it's about making sure that everybody understands what went on and people were just above board. And I think a lot of people have that same, I mean, nobody's out to skin anybody, nobody's out to prove a point. It's just, there was a little grayness in the area, and I think the state code is better, honestly. I think they're a little clearer, and so I personally
Because my other sort of question on that was, you know, we have a lot of employees that have a business trip that's for training or something, and then they add 2 days on to go visit mom.
this
Would
is,
we really want to, it'd be almost penalizing them to do the pro rata
yeah,
back? I mean-
this would only apply to them if they're candidates.
Oh, okay,
Because
okay.
Oh.
if a
That's
current
true.
discipline or elected official is a candidate
oh, I see.
for elected
Okay.
municipal, state or federal office, it would not affect
Okay, so but
only
basically,
candidates.
we're changing our ethics rule to reflect basically what the APOC rules are, but the APOC rules have not necessarily currently affected members running for the mayor or the assembly, am I correct?
I don't know about the APOC rules, but I know the state
Well,
rules
because
are
the
more
APOC
in
did
line
call,
with this.
it talked to the mayor or the mayor's office.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons he decided to pay, because he is a candidate for state office.
Exactly, because the APOC rule, the APOC decision was basically predicated on the state rules. So I'm trying to bring the city code more in line with the state, so there's more, you know, I mean, 'cause the
Okay.
fact of the matter is, many municipal officials run for state office or federal office. So I think if we start having a standard, both city and state, and in this particular case, I think the state code's better. So that's the only reason I think it's clear, and that's why I say, there was some confusion in the very beginning. I think this applies to absolutely everybody, and I think the clarity should be, this is specifically applying to candidates.
So what if the candidate for municipal, state, or federal office is going on a municipally funded trip, and they want to take vacation?
I
They
think,
can't do the way you have it written? Because you have at the bottom of, in number 7, you have vacation included in the, along with fundraising.
No, it would divert to the same, it would go back to the PNP. And, you know, you may have to disclose and on a pro rata basis.
Even if,
But I think, actually, I'm not an expert in the PNP, but I know the PNP addresses,
You got just as vacation?
it does, I've been told that.
But it makes.
I was just gonna say, I don't know how these things are typically written. I think I know where you're about to go, and that is, would it be appropriate to reference the PNP in here?
That's
or is
that's
that
where I
not
was going.
done?
Yes.
Well,
Only to make sure that this is intended to run to be consistent.
well, that could be in the AM. The AM is
Oh,
the
okay.
document that explains this, and we try not to put those kind of direct references
Right,
in the code
okay.
because they change.
Right.
And then you have
And
to, so it could be in the
I
AM.
could draft an AM. The only
Because-
reason I didn't is because Julia thought it was so straightforward.
Mhm.
So we said, oh, we don't need it, but I certainly can.
Well, if
do
we needed to,
something.
well, because I didn't catch that it was just
Candidate.
restricted to candidates, so I think it
Even
might
though
be
it specifically says that if you, in your AM, you said
Yeah.
this could, and to be consistent with our current PNP, then, I can't speak for the board, obviously, because we have to have our little knockout, but I think we'll have less chance of having an issue with it.
Sure. And that's my intent. My intent is not to really
Right.
reinvent the wheel.
Right.
My intent is just to, you know, add clarity and put guidelines in place that everybody understands this is what's expected of you.
Yes.
The other thing I might suggest, I'll wait till Ted's done.
okay,
He doesn't have to be here. Dave already knows what I'm gonna think, so.
We're spending way too much time together these days.
This is truly by luck that I walked in.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dan Kimmel saw me in the elevator. What are you doing for? Another ethics meeting.
then if two people, say two assemblymen, go on a trip, they're both gonna stop off and visit their mother. One's a candidate for re-election and the other one isn't. So the one that's not, doesn't have to do anything, he can do it, but the one that's a candidate can't do it. That's what you're saying.
I'm not saying they can't do it. I'm saying if you do any of these things and you're a candidate and you're traveling on state-sponsored dime, you must follow the PNP and
If you're a candidate, but if you're not a candidate, you don't have to.
I don't know what the rules are for the non-candidates.
Can I make a suggestion, Ted and
Yeah.
Amy? Is that the two people in the city that deal with this are Dale Peterson and David Hertridge. And I would think we could invite them back to a meeting and ask them all these questions, because they will tell us. I mean, I went through, by the way, everybody has this PNP in their handout, but to absorb it. And we could just quick ask them these questions and it'd be real.
I would love to come when
Yeah.
you do.
Yeah.
Because it'd be those two, and we just schedule it when is our next meeting before when you referred it to?
I referred it to March 11th.
No,
Oh.
our next meeting's the 13th.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
March.
No,
may-
I'm sorry, the 12th.
Yeah,
Of
you may
March.
want to
Yeah.
move it back a little more if you could do it without any issues.
I could do it. I was trying not to confuse my ethics change with another rep on the
This
docket.
one covers it right here.
That's the only reason I couldn't feel it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
But
just,
if
I'm trying,
that's
if we can avoid having,
if
we've
that's
been
the
meeting
will of the
3 or 4
body.
times a month for,
Yep.
the meeting is supposed to meet once a month lately.
Well, my goal is, if that's the, and that's what I was
gonna
gonna call.
suggest once a quarter. That's what I wanna get this
That
down.
means they're gonna have to be a lot longer than 2 hours.
Yeah, I'm not.
Well, so it sounds like your proposal is to simply add a qualifying sentence in here, just one, and that's it. And it's meant to run consistent and in accordance with the DNP,
But I'm not-
which could be read as.
Yeah, I'm not sure the PNP addresses.
All right.
So there's a part in here about extended trips, and it talks about, it's exactly the way the university does it.
Oh, okay.
So you have to do 2 quotes, like, you
Sure.
have to pay the difference, and there's a, but I'm not sure there's anything in here that speaks to prorating the trip
Mhm.
based on fundraising.
Mhm.
I mean, it's pretty clear about vacation. That's my concern, is you say personal work, vacation, or fundraising. And I think those are clearly laid out in the Saturday travel, side trips, and extended trips on page 5 of 12.
Mhm.
But my concern is you're lumping those two things in that are clearly explained in here with fundraising.
Where fundraising is not.
Well, I don't know why it would
Yes,
be.
Ted.
So-
I think, to be fair and everything, and make it real simple, is just take out here, if we just remove the state is a candidate,
Is it candidate?
is a candidate. In other words, if you are a municipal employee, an elected official, or whatever, then you have to fill out this form that says, then you just have to fill out your trip report, disclose by the trip report that you did this.
Now, do we have to specifically, because in our code, we have the mayor is referenced separately in several different places, is not shown as an employee, would we have to specifically mention the mayor by the title?
Isn't
You
that
understand
the
what I'm
point?
talking about?
To go out- Isn't that kind of the point? Is that you have to be a candidate?
Yeah, but why?
Why restrict it?
Yeah, why restrict it? I mean, if two people are traveling, doing the same thing, one happens to be running for re-election and the other one isn't.
Cool, but if the other one's not running for your election, would that
But
person
see,
still
this
be
is not just for
fundraising?
fundraising, this is for going for vacation or
Right.
visiting grandma or whatever.
Yeah.
Just to be fair, then they all fill out on their trip report, if that's what they did.
Well, but it's not just filling out the report, they're adjusting the airfare also.
So the airfare gets adjusted. For example, it says if you're extending the trip, so let's say that the mayor went to Washington D.C., did something and extended the trip to
Right.
to do a fundraising activity.
Mhm.
If he could have flown back earlier, the P&P kind of accounts for that because it says if the travel request is an extended trip,
Mhm.
you must attach 2 airline ticket quotes
Oh,
to the travel authorization, one for travel to and from the event without the extended trip,
Oh.
and one for travel to and from the event including the extended trip.
The additional,
Yeah,
whatever it
and,
costs.
and if there's any difference, you
You pay the difference.
you pay the difference. So that's normally if you're staying an extra couple of days
Sure.
or a week because your family happens to live there, or you're extended family and you want to stay for a vacation. And a lot of times if you stay over
Or
Saturday.
what if there's no, and I think this is designed to
Yeah.
address the situation.
I just
There
might-
probably
Right.
wasn't any additional time because
Yeah.
the flight's out of DC
Right.
or first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
And
My concern is, I don't know if you need to put the personal work and vacation part in there.
that's my suggestion.
Yeah, I think
take
you
that
just
out
take that
and
out
just.
and just the fundraising.
The
part.
point is,
Because your concern is
yeah.
the fundraising part.
For
I mean,
candidates.
if people are if they're
Yeah.
concerned that
course for
that
candidates.
a municipal or state employee adds on vacation time when they're already going out of state for business,
Yeah. What about?
that happens all the time.
And the P&P covers that.
And yeah, it does. And
Well, that's another interesting issue too. Who's a candidate? Because some people probably fundraise even if they're not actively running for the
well, I don't
next
think you can fundraise
Yeah,
if you're
I
not
have a
actively-
lot of intent.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
do have
No,
All right.
you're either a
Okay.
candidate or you're not.
So there's no way of
No, you can't
misinterpreting
misinterpret
candidate.
it. No.
Oh, okay. All right.
If you do that without the letter of intent.
Okay, because
you
lawyers
get
are always
into
looking
trouble.
to
Yeah.
muddy the meaning of a
Yeah.
word.
No, that's pretty clear.
No.
happened before.
I think we're gonna have to have a work session on this. There's no way we're gonna come to any agreement here, so we need to set up a work session to come in and just handle this,
Well,
just like we did the other.
I'm perfectly fine if we just take out personal work and vacation and leave everything else.
Yes, go ahead. No, after he's finished with his
Yeah.
thought.
Are you done?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, when I brought this initially to Assembly Council, my concern was with fundraising. And, through the course of discussions, it was brought up to me in the private sector, an experience had happened where there was an attorney that was on contract up here to one of the companies, and she would fly up, and then she would meet 3 or 4 of her other clients, but charge the company for the time. And so through our discussions, we thought, well, maybe we're trying to fix something that wasn't really needing to be fixed. But that's where some of this other stuff came into the mix. Yeah, so, I thought, let's cast a wider net because, I'm trying to make sure that taxpayers' money is not being
Yeah, but
so that's kind of where some of the, and then it's like, well, then it could be vacations, and then let's just make it clear that if you're doing any of these things. And so that's how it evolved, but my initial intent was for fundraising.
Well, I think it's almost, in my view, it'd be kind of discriminatory because you're
Yes.
saying everyone else can do it unless you're a candidate.
Yeah.
And you ought to be able to take, you ought to be able to, I don't think it should be more restrictive with vacation or personal work. So I think the real issue is fundraising. I agree with you that, I mean,
But I think some clarification part of the code is probably necessary, because there really is a tension between you can't divert and you can't do partisan political activities with the code. But
So
there
you-
is sort of a gap there that says, well, wait a minute.
So the personal work and vacation helps fill that gap?
No, I'm just saying, no, I
Fundraising.
think there's a code clarification that is needed. And I think we'll see that later.
Right,
That there's a clarification that is necessary.
I would think that the issue here is, because I think this is fine, except whether we want to cast the net wider or whether we want to keep it to its original intent, which is to restrict the candidate and fundraising.
Fundraising,
And just-
candidate and fundraising.
your other issues that you brought up, you could not be a candidate and still be doing those things.
Right.
So why do you just want to restrict the
Right,
candidates from
right,
those things?
right.
I mean, to
Well, as soon as
me,
you-
the candidate in this sentence, candidate only goes with
Right.
fundraising.
Right.
It doesn't, when you're matching things up on a test, you can say candidate and fundraising.
Which was the
That's
original,
fair.
You wouldn't
That's a
say
fair
candidate. You
comment.
wouldn't say
Okay.
candidate and vacation.
which is the original intent.
So yeah,
I mean, the whole point of this.
Right.
I
I
understand.
got sidetracked
So
a
I
little.
said-
No, it's hard. I mean, look,
But-
we do too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But I say we
we
either take out the candidate or
take out the vacation.
everything
work.
but fundraising.
Yeah.
One or the other.
second.
Yeah.
I tend to agree with that too.
Or
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or we don't even have to do that.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
just-
We'll have,
You heard what?
we'll have to write up something
Yeah.
to too. But
Yeah.
actually, is this enough of a discussion, do
Is
we
this-
think?
Fantastic.
Is this helpful?
You know
Very.
how to rewrite it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just
I,
take-
and like I
you
said,
just pick up 3 words.
my intent
No.
is not to jam this through. My intent
Yeah.
is to make sure we have something clear that, because you guys ultimately will be the ones interpreting this,
Yeah.
I want to make sure it's clear and everybody understands how it's to be used and what it means. And if we need more time, I know I'm happy to put it off.
But Amy, I think you're saying, okay, let's assume the board wants to do the candidate and just the fundraising. We
Yeah.
take out the other 2 things. So the candidate and fundraising would be exceptions also to the PNP, because the PNP doesn't do that.
I don't
Okay.
think so.
So we're saying that, okay. And that's still, Amy, where it might be worthwhile, I don't know if we need to have the whole board involved, but for you to be able to meet with the 2 city people that administer this and find out where there's going to be hiccups
Okay.
if we do that.
And Dee, were you also suggesting too that regarding municipal employees and personal work and vacation is something else that might be plugged later?
No,
Oh.
I agree. I think that should come out, but
Okay.
for all the reasons stated, I haven't
Okay.
thought of that yet either, but I
But
do think that should come out.
That's
But
another issue.
This
that
is
should
sort
be
of an
addressed
exception,
separately.
yeah.
Okay, I agree.
Yeah,
I
this
think
is an exception.
It'd be nice, I think part of this is our group here would really like to be able to work on something and get it out the door very quickly without having to have 3 meetings.
Yeah, let me throw another horseshoe in there.
Can I borrow your
Okay,
pen?
here,
Here, yeah.
This pen is,
what,
I got one.
I got one here too.
is there any prohibition if I'm running for mayor, running for assembly, running for whatever, and Steve goes outside and holds a fundraiser for me?
For you?
Yeah.
Why? Why? It wasn't your ticket.
Yeah, but
So
you're,
there's nothing wrong.
Your
with it.
campaign is paying for that, but if you attend your fundraiser,
If you're there.
You're
No,
saying
no,
if
I'm
I'm a
not there.
municipal
I'm not
employee?
there.
Well, you're
You're
not
saying-
you're not expending money because you're not
Yeah.
there.
You're
It's not
saying
your ticket.
I go out and I'm
Yeah.
a municipal
no, but
employee
he's
and
a
I'm not the
municipal
candidate?
employee.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I think that's covered under the PNP. It would
Yeah.
be an extent, it would be,
Yeah.
it would be an,
You're not a candidate.
no, but it would, but the PNP covers any employee,
Yeah.
and it would be an extended trip. So,
well, it may not be an extended trip, because an
Right.
example of the
It might
mayor,
just be-
he didn't necessarily have an extended trip.
yeah.
Well, I don't know what the airlines, I just know that generally the tickets leave,
Well,
they leave like
I
8
can
o'clock in the
just-
morning.
Well, you can only, in my view, you can only, you can only regulate ethical behavior so much.
Yeah.
So, and.
I know.
I mean, this
We'll
this
go with
kind
that
of,
change.
this kind of lays out,
Do you wanna-
the
we're-
process.
You've
So-
asked
Can
for-
I just read, just to make sure I understand? So what I think you're saying is if I just take out personal work and vacation and
And the
leave it
word or.
solely, and the word or, and leave it solely as candidate and fundraising, that would be clearer.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because they should be able to take
And in
vacation.
your,
That way,
conjunction with the
if you're a
business trip.
candidate and you go out and you're not doing a fundraiser, you just wanna stop off and see your grandmother,
Yeah.
no sweat.
No, and I respect the concept of including those other things, but I think it tends to distract from the point.
Yeah.
And then it can lead to too many different iterations that end up in different places. But, you asked, is this one of our, did you ask for an advisory
did.
opinion? Do you want something in writing from us?
I would love it.
Okay, so we'll do that. I feel comfortable
Yeah,
having something
just
drafted.
taking that section out.
Okay.
Yeah, just what you scratched out.
Okay.
the other recommendation would be that in your AM, you refer to the P and Ps.
Yes.
Are you gonna write it, or is?
I'll write it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try to get it done in the next couple of days
That's
and get it
perfect.
out.
Okay, and just.
That'll be a real quick one-page thing.
Yeah,
I
that'll be
think
very
so.
Oh,
good.
very, very quick,
Yeah,
just,
very short.
just remove that.
Yeah. And the basis behind it.
Yeah.
And last night at
And
the
the
meeting, there was a request to have a work session for the assembly on this, and a representative from the ethics board attend.
Oh, on this?
Yeah.
Oh.
I thought it was gonna be pretty small, it's gonna be like 5 minutes, I think,
Yeah.
but, if that happens, I'll just notify Dee,
Mm.
D or
Just,
Yeah.
Lisa.
D.
Oh, Lisa.
Either way.
or Lisa,
Yeah.
and just let us know, and we'll pick somebody.
Okay.
We usually pick the chair, because he gets paid the big bucks.
And-
Yeah,
and-
get the big
Yeah, right.
Amy,
He
when
gets two
was that
sandwiches.
work session? do you
What's
know?
that?
It's not
Gets two
scheduled yet.
sandwiches.
Yeah.
Yeah, Adam just
He gets the
asked
extra
for it.
sandwich.
But I'm trying to keep my issue from the other ethics
Yeah.
code
Right.
change separate.
Yeah.
So I don't wanna confuse the two.
I hadn't even looked at the other one yet.
No, I
Oh,
think this makes
and
sense.
Amy, I'll email you about meeting with those other two.
I would really love
Because
to do that
you-
because, especially before the work session.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
I
Okay.
kinda know what I'm talking
And then, yeah. Okay, very good.
And they could even be invited to the work session too, I mean, because you're gonna get all those, well, what about this, if, and
Right.
buts, and then they would be there to say, well, this is how we normally would handle
And
it.
this is how we would
I mean,
implement.
they've done it a million times, so.
That would be fantastic.
Perfect. There we go.
Just by luck, I was in the building.
good.
Thank you guys so much for
Yeah.
taking that.
Okay, what's next?
So
We're
back,
gonna go back.
We're gonna go.
Gift disclosures.
We passed
Oh,
the gifts.
the elected
so we
officials.
are-
The elected officials.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
We did the A1, we have to do A2.
Just one.
I
She
didn't
had
see
got some-
anything in there.
She got something from her employer, so, I guess she has to report it.
That's,
7A,
7A.
second yellow
Yeah.
divider.
She got a rain jacket.
Yellow
Franklin
too.
Phillips.
Where?
Does that say CAP?
Yeah,
that's a CAP.
CAP or CP or CNP or CN. I think that's Conoco Phillips and Booth. I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, since the receiving employees is ConocoPhillips, I would say.
Yeah, her
For
employer.
Kathleen Plunkett.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever. Okay. We're not sending a letter on that one, right?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
All right, well, she disclosed it.
Do we have to move to
To,
get some disclosure by elected municipal official?
I just moved that you saw it and
Yeah,
reviewed
just
it.
move that we
and-
decided we moved, and we decided not to do anything about it.
No.
Second.
Okay.
And it's been moved and seconded.
Any opposition?
Yeah.
Okay.
So 3 from, look at the disclosures with respect to all these people who serve on boards like this. Wow, is
If I
it
know
hot
the-
in this room or is it just?
If I know the
me?
person
It's hot,
personally,
it's hot.
should I
Move around to that.
disclose that?
You what?
You
If I
can
know the
disclose it.
person personally. So Joel Condon teaches in our college.
Well, I don't know. I've got Dave Nesbitt and Steve Strom here. I know them personally
Oh,
too.
yeah. Well, I just wanted that known. So
Well, I won't vote on that.
Yeah, I won't vote on mine either. Mine's
Terrence
in-
Kelly, myself,
How did mine
Yeah.
get in
Because
there?
we all signed it the same day, I
Yeah.
guess.
Ted Carlson.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I know the person from work.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like they work for me,
Not a member of your household.
but correct.
I guess we just assume, there's nothing in here saying so that we assume it's blank, that there are none.
That's,
That's a fair
yeah.
assumption. We don't need
But
to.
that's not
I
all
just-
practical. I don't
just
get
can't
any
imagine
raises,
it's
I
Right.
don't get no vacation.
That's certainly how they're filling it.
So you guys get vacations and everything else, I don't get any of that.
David asked him how he got that job.
I'm sorry.
I
Oh,
asked Ted how
yeah.
he got that job.
So do we have a motion to accept the
highly
disclosures?
competitive application process.
So
Yes.
Under
Second.
7A3,
Second.
moved and seconded to accept disclosures. What about the last disclosure? I'm a little confused as to what's going on. This person's a teacher whose husband owns an engineering firm that bids on
Which one?
Kenny?
Kenny. It's the last yellow thing.
Okay.
I don't see an issue because
No influence on the ability of her husband's
No,
company to
we
obtain
did the that same,
Yeah, we had
one
something.
came through last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
it may have been the same one.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion? Been moved
To what?
to accept this.
accept it.
Accept it?
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Any opposed? Moved and seconded? No opposed? We can move on to, what's this, John's, a review notices to respond.
Oh,
7B.
And this connects to the one we just approved,
Mhm.
Kenny Engineering.
And do you remember, this is the lady that came
Yeah.
in, she won a year waiver, she wanted
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
did we ask her to,
Put put
a.
something in
Well,
writing,
it's
I
actually
think.
in our court, because we told her, Terry was gonna write up, there was some
We've done this,
waiver
we've done
that
this
you
in the
did
past.
before, and Terry was going to bring that up, rewrite it for this person. And then she was gonna fill out the new paperwork, and we were gonna post it for
Terry's
here.
not here today, because he knew that was
Yeah.
gonna come up.
So,
Um,
I don't know if anyone else
We've
has access to
done, we've done
that
this for
old
3 or
letter.
4, or at least 2
Yeah.
times. Ellis, as I recall, the people who did the T-shirts or something like that, as well as the.
Tim Ellis, yeah, sits in front of me at the UAA hockey games.
Okay.
Yep, yep.
And then the person who shot, the person who maintains all the guns,
Coach.
the coach who maintains all the guns, the air guns.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have any problem with approving it, because, like she said, it's more expensive to do it, and they don't have the time to respond.
Well, we said we were gonna approve
Yeah,
it.
you did.
So
Yeah.
I think we've already approved it. So it's just a matter of notifying her?
Well, providing this letter waiver to
Do we have a
put with
copy
her
of the
note.
letter that we can just,
I don't have
Oh.
anything.
huh?
Terry said he had it, and that's why he was
We don't have
gonna.
like a file of letters that we send out? Not pre-Lisa.
That was
I guess,
pre-Lisa,
right?
yeah.
Is that right?
Pre-Lisa,
There's some
there's some
problems.
stuff, there's
Yeah.
some problems.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're approving this. What do we need? Do we need to document that approval in a piece of paper?
Yes, she does need to fill out the
A
notice of
letter.
intent to, blah, blah, blah.
That's what we have.
That's what
New
we
form.
have, don't
But
we?
she was gonna fill one out for this year, just
Oh,
a
I
brand new
see.
form. She had used an old form, if you remember.
Is this the
Okay.
new form?
So we were gonna have her, once we got the letter, come in,
Uh-huh.
fill out a new form and pay the fee, the $15 fee, and then I was going to put it on the website for a year,
And so why do we have to have a letter?
Or a waiver?
saying why we're waiving.
Can't we just put that in the minutes?
You know, a waiver, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you, but I was going to say a waiver, we could just practically reference the code section and then use the exact language out of the code section.
Instead of waiting for Terry, let's just
Yeah.
draft it now.
Yeah.
It's very simple, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, just one paragraph. That's all we need.
Yeah. What about some Scylla Charybdis
It's something,
references?
it could be as simple
But we're
as
not- we're not-
have that code
we're not stuck
section
between
and
a rock and a
then
hard
place.
place.
maybe even cite it and just say, at a meeting on such and such date, the Board of Ethics determined or found that whatever their names are, meet the criteria for
And if you can make that a
a waiver.
template, then the next one we get, we'll just fill in the
That's you meet
blanks.
the criteria.
Yeah. This is a
And
nice
are
letter.
we actually using the word waive,
I think that's what
disclosure for every single one of those, every time it comes up? I don't remember what she
the
called
same
them.
or similar.
Similar, yeah. Waive,
I mean, the alternative, you send a quick email to Terry and say, Terry, can you just forward that to me and I'll turn it into a template.
Okay.
Unless you can do a letter and.
So if I can do
Yes.
something, whether I get anything from Terry, can I bounce it
Yes,
to you?
yes.
Yeah,
And
because
I'll
I
look at
think
that code
the
section.
concept here is what, just a reference to the code
Code.
provision,
Yeah.
saying it's okay
Mhm.
during this
Approved.
time period.
Now, would they have to
Yeah.
just present this letter every time they did a bid to the city? So they wouldn't have to then pay the
No.
extra fee and everything? How does the city know to keep track of? This is an annual letter that they'll ask for.
I don't know.
Just
Well-
put in the letter, whenever submitting a bid, please attach a copy of this letter.
And I don't think they're
No,
solicit.
but-
They're
Oh.
doing a bid.
Yeah.
There's a group of people, and
Right.
they just come to him and say, "Hey, do this for me."
No, and I think that if we provide a waiver, there's no reason to mention it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we have it on our records.
Yeah.
And they have complied with what we've asked them
Right.
to do, so there's nothing further that needs to be done. I wouldn't.
And if somebody, yeah, that's true. And if somebody asks for the waiver, then we'll
Then they
have it
have
on
it.
file.
And they have
And
it.
they have
And
it.
it's online too for
Yeah.
a year.
Yeah, the only reason it would come up is if a competitor was complaining, and
Yeah.
well, here it is,
Yeah.
you know, or whatever. It's been dealt with. I don't think there's any reason to have them do it every time, because I think
Sure.
the whole concept here is that they can very quickly respond to an issue.
No, that's
And
what
we
I meant,
don't-
but when they respond, they get to say, here's our letter, we don't have to pay our $15 or whatever the deal was. That's the only,
$15
or whatever the
Well,
fee is.
they're going to pay $15 one time
one time.
to be
Once.
posted for a year.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's it.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I think
You might want to make that clear that, we will have to, a new application to be, request to be posted for another year.
Well, it will be, and I will.
yeah.
And it's just going to be for these incidences that are
That's right.
$24,999
That's right.
to get on that quick list.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't need to see that again.
Okay. I'll shoot it to
Yeah,
you,
run it
okay,
through Dean
and
get
then
it out.
okay.
Yeah.
What's this John Spring one? Same thing?
No, this is just a
that
run of the mill
AA?
one.
I'm looking for,
It's right after the
70.
goldenrod sheet.
This one, by the way, to me was a very interesting one because he's his company is Transportation Model Update Consultant Services. So it's modeling, transportation modeling,
Right.
and that's a whole Cabata issue, and that's all what planning and zoning. That's a lot of what planning and zoning are likely to have to deal with that issue. But I suppose if he does full disclosure every time, well, maybe not planning and zoning commission. Maybe
well, I
there's
mean, he's saying
specific cases.
he will recuse himself from all transportation model agenda items presented at the Planning and Zoning Commission.
So what work would he have to do on the planning and zoning commission
Well-
if he's going to recuse himself from all transportation model agenda items presented?
Well, they do lots of other stuff. Maybe if, with a board's authorization, what I will do is call a staffer for the Planning and Zoning Commission, and just feel this out a little bit. Does this
Sure.
involve other
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
or is this going to render his effectiveness questionable? Or,
'Cause I think
and I
what-
can even
The
have
whole
her
point that he's on the board is because he does transportation modeling.
perhaps. So I'd like
So,
to.
right, and as long as he's not getting work
Right.
from what he's doing,
Yeah.
I mean,
But he's asking. He proposes to furnish the work. I mean, that's why he's submitting this, right? Because he wants to do the work. Isn't that
well,
what-
then yes, then I think then in
You know what
that
I'm
case
saying?
it's appropriate for him to recuse himself.
Yeah.
But
So, but my question is, I mean, almost any zoning discussion, and I might be wrong, but I think almost any zoning discussion would ultimately include some form of, or some issue related to transportation. Like you build a neighborhood, you got the transportation flow has to be a certain way. I mean, so I don't, yeah, but I agree with you. I think if you maybe ask the question,
And interesting enough, Peter McKay
Pete McKay,
from
yeah.
Planning and
Right.
Zoning has signed off on this.
Right. Yeah,
is he the chair?
yeah.
I haven't dealt with him before.
He's also the well, he was the you were the chamber president. Is he still president?
Is that Mulcahy?
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
McKay Stadium?
Yeah. No, I don't. Well, maybe I don't know, but he actually was the candidate running against Austin as well. So anyway, I think that might be the best way to do it.
Okay,
If you can
and-
chat.
well, let me just ask one, and maybe I'll call Peter too now.
Yeah.
He has put his name on this and just
Sure.
say, are
Yeah.
you sure, can you explain
Right.
this a little bit more to
Right.
the board?
Because assuming everything is I don't,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, in
Yeah.
fact, and that's why I was just looking, wait a minute, if someone had to have signed off on this.
Yeah.
I think ultimately all
Alright, so-
zoning discussions would include some issue related to transportation,
Mhm.
Right.
so.
No,
And
and
he paid us $15.
and we don't want to discourage experts in the area from
Right.
being on these boards.
Yeah.
That's the inherent type of issue
Yeah,
that we're
right.
always dealing with.
Okay, so I'll just do a couple calls and
Yeah.
report back to the board.
Okay,
Okay.
so moving on to unfinished business and whether we can finish this one in the next 15 minutes. Or next, excuse me, 45 minutes. Hopefully we can.
And remember, no names for the
So
discussion at
this
this
one,
point.
do we want to close the door? Well, no names until we actually get to, kind of awkward to discuss this thing without having executive or deliberative session.
Well, I think we have to go into executive session for sure.
Because of its, of the very nature of this one, we have to talk about a position, and to do that, it gives it up.
And even in executive session, if my memory serves me correctly, if we decide not to accept this as to move forward, then that tape actually gets removed. So, so it's just plain executive. However, if we do accept it and following our findings, that tape becomes public. So it's versus the deliberative one it never is taped. So I think we can go into executive session, and it only becomes public if we accept it and upon our findings.
Okay,
So we
so
can mention
private.
names.
We can mention names in executive session.
Yes.
Okay, so I move to go into executive session.
Second.
Okay.
To move and second to go to executive session, any opposed? Hearing none, we're in executive session.
Okay.